Hi, I'm Brendan, and this is Screenstorming, and I'm working through, in this video, the issue of how I can do tasks across the day better as a 24/7 caregiver, with a complete overwhelm, task and communication and financial situation overwhelmed to a point of extremity. Like, it's hard to explain how many things I'm juggling and trying to deal with and responsible for and seeking help with and all this stuff, where the help is not clearly easy to find. So I've put together these reference point things, and this is sort of a preliminary effort, and I want to develop one of these where it's more focused specifically on the tasking and task overwhelm and the caregiver situation. But I want to focus first. I want to focus on the upper right corner. I made this, I think, last year, and it's. I mean, the concept here is just a little bit like comics or something, but the focus is communicating reality, or like a take on reality. So sometimes with this, I'm like, there's an angle of some of this stuff can be really heavy and serious, and it is, and also an angle where it can be, at least from certain vantage points and juxtapositions, it can be kind of comical. So, and a lot of these things other people could probably relate to in different ways. So I put, this represents me or any, it's like any person who wants to identify with this or whatever. So I put the 3 song titles here is Billy Joel Pressure, Queen and David Bowie Under Pressure, and The Roots, The Fire, and featuring John Legend. And so these 3, it's like pressure is kind of like the personal pressure or creative pressure thing, or overwhelm. Under pressure is more like this whole society, weight of the world pressure, and things going wrong. But this relates to like people. It's like you can't take it anymore, and these types of things. And then the fire gets at sort of stepping up into liminal, sort of increased responsibility and responsiveness, consciousness type of thing. So and the sort of, I mean, as I take it, some of the dissonance of like, well, before I didn't think I could do all this stuff, but now I'm going to step up and try to do it. And then it can be like, why didn't I do that before? And it's like, okay, it's time to go through that fire. So, and I've been through this iterations of all this stuff a million times, so it's almost like just natural, like liminal states, and the fire, pressure, under pressure. I mean, I'm trying to work through this stuff professionally. It's not my first time coming to terms with it or something. So, and then here, first, concrete household tasks. So this should be simple, and this is how people view caregivers. Like, just do your caregiving tasks. Don't neglect them. It's like just like cleaning, like anyone could do that. Just do it, and that's that. And the thing is, it's like the ADD and INTJ struggles with the physical environment thing. Like and other layers too. I really struggle with self-directed, concrete household tasks. And this doesn't mean that I'm I mean, that's a whole thing, because it can slide into like, oh, am I just like incapable of functioning as a person? But that's not true. I can, but I need to like fix some of this stuff, and it's more of these sort of Jungian personality shadow functions, or I've developed them and made them conscious and stuff, but it's like still in terms of energy and shifting into them. If it's not an emergency, like, I mean, if I feel acute terror emergency if I don't do something, then that brings a certain kind of energy motivation. But the thing is, when that's not really sustainable or nourishing as a constant. Well, plus even when it is, what happens is my intuitive mind ends up intuitive and extroverted thinking goes into like problem solving and sorting out the whys, like how did we get here, what's possible now, what's going on, what is needed, and then it's like, well, I just need help. And so even people helping remotely could help, but I feel like I have this sense, even though I haven't pulled it off yet, like with these talking to on video, maybe can do the sort of task monitoring, self-management thing better. So then, I mean, doing where someone's, okay, so, but then, so I want to get better at this, and the thing is I end up, so much of my time has ended up sliding into being stuck or making layouts, or rather than just, or even with the tasking help, it's like these blocks of time, like 25 minutes of cleaning and then a break, and I mean that's at least going back and forth, like spending half my time on the household tasks and so on, would be great. I mean, but I just end up not getting stuff done, and so this is a huge problem. And then this turns into, I'm interpreted as failing to change things, and these different ideas of accountable as in actually changing, or versus making excuses, as opposed to figuring out what's missing and what do I need to do to get this to work. And it's like one of the stopgap measures has been, it's like people advise different things, or it's like having a task monitor talking through me for many hours on the phone has helped. And yet this is very expensive, and I already have like an extreme financial emergency, and I spent a huge amount of time before that just trying to informally sort out getting help with these things, which was, I mean, I realized is, oh my god, like, and then even figuring out who could I pay, like, should I pay someone like a Myers-Briggs consultant coach, or it's like now I found this whole, or an ADHD coach. But then the thing is, what I'm dealing with is more a combination of the INTJ thing and the ADD thing, and the triage trauma and moral distress thing. Although it's not that I'm experiencing most of those symptoms, but it's like, then it gets into the intuition thing, or what I'm doing is really combining intuition and thinking that is more, it's kind of beyond even what I've seen usually or deeply discussed on the personality YouTube, and it's more into like Astarami and the creative integration thing of really deeply developing both introverted and extroverted thinking, like concepts, being able to formulate concepts and connect and build knowledge systems and make sense of the world in more and more depth, and ground these in concrete examples, and use intuition in the process. And so, but then all of that is like, in a way, serious professional epistemic work that is then, or knowledge work that is then a world away from tasking. But it's like, what I'm trying to do is build a guide or system for, hopefully that too, that applicable to others, but for myself, that could help me self-manage this and be conscious of like where do I need to steer, as opposed to where can I sort of trust what I'm doing is intuitively, or people are telling me to do, or whatever is, optimal. So I want to make a copy of this and arrange it with less of the life context and more focused on these needs. And I could redraw this, but it kind of stands as, I made it last year, but it's mostly the same stuff. Or maybe in the process I could figure out recomposing this. Because I understand some of the items on here better from different angles. So I have safety plan here, which connects into planet Earth and the macro, because on some level, in my mind, safety planning for myself and or others, like coordinating needs and lack of catastrophes and injuries and stuff, it's like it all integrates together. Myself and others, myself and a few others that I know well, myself and like my country, myself and people in the world, people I know throughout the world. Like it's all. It's like I've developed developed or pieced together a philosophy of what's possible where these interests are compatible. People, like, overall, barring often things that need to be transformed, but overall, I believe the interests of different people can be compatible, and it doesn't need to be descending into warfare and people neglecting and abandoning each other, where no one, like so many people are just like dying alone with no one to help, or one person overwhelmed, and then there's all sorts of other people who are like searching for purpose and meaning and not wanting the standard cookie cutter jobs. So it's like there's all this, but then how do you dive into it? And many people try and they just get completely, it's like burnout, and there's just so much going wrong. And so that's something where I feel like this model could maybe help people also have a vision for a better future. It's like connecting my personal sense of survival needs, but accepting risk and uncertainty. But it's like generally, if people are working together and caring about each other and not abandoning each other, that seems like a better world and more survivable world than where no one will even talk to each other and it's impossible to ask for help. So, unless it's like a very simple cookie cutter. So, here, because it's like I need help, and above the my head, or this character's head, I put from this Kathy Forth post about, it's like you have to do all this stuff for self-advocacy, and then also have a good attitude. Well, you talk through your needs, and I'm paraphrasing, but you talk through your needs, and then other people are problems, and then or aspirations, and then other people are throwing often ill-fitting solutions, and then it's generally necessary to be polite and have a good attitude. And even if you're spending thousands of hours trying to have bare recognition of your needs and aspirations and stuff, and what you can do versus what you need help with, it's like so it's like other people get frustrated and sick of what's going on. It's like have a good attitude, and it's like the thing is that in practice, that is, even though there's something to be said for a range of human emotional responses and states are understandable, and there's a space for sort of creative maladjustment and potentially strong feelings at times. Overall, when it's a widely traumatized culture, having a good attitude is important. But then what I found is that it's like that it violates truth if things are completely fucked up to just act like everything's fine. And so that's why one reason I've worked toward figuring out how to use music and layouts and move toward producing art that allows people to both acknowledge what's going on and how it can be transformed and maintain a good attitude without it seeming like insincere or being mismatched with the reality. So I put here assemble a team, and I think I would expand this now into fix communication problems with the team or network I already have, and then build my network. Find new people would be one thing. It's like different forms of teams, either ad hoc or for projects could form, but it's more like I'm thinking more in an ecosystem sense. So I might assemble a team differently. That's something where it's like I've been like the power of teamwork. Like if we just coordinated some people just coordinated as a team together. I mean, it's like we could do all this stuff, but I would unpack and do this differently in the current state, or depict this differently in the state of extreme breakdown in people's ability to do this in many contexts. So, and then here I put, it's like the negative judgments from other people or advice. It's like deal with it, nice job breaking it, hero, what the hell, hero. It's like other people being angry, frustrated. And some of these, though, it's like, okay, I am dealing with it. I'd like to explain how I am, or intend to. Nice job breaking it here on what the hell. I mean, okay, so I can take mockery, criticism, and stuff. Okay, fine, but it's like, I mean, there are answers to these. What the hell? There is a story if people are interested in looking at it. And also, this isn't really this concept of hero and heroes and villains. I think needs to be updated. Just understanding people as complex human beings with complex character development, and some of these situations don't have clear answers, and yet also I really don't think it's just like life is messy, let's not even bother being accountable for what's happening. I think it's important to be, at least for people who want to take part in this way, looking at things and doing professional work, being accountable for how we're using time and what we're accomplishing or not accomplishing, what's going wrong, impacts. So I put here infinite research because I was seeing this as like a problem. I mean, this can't be infinite research, and I know this is zeroing in on functional answers rather than this infinite research thing. But this is a risk factor of spending too much time doing more research, as well as not doing enough, like missing. It's like, I just discovered this thing, and if I hadn't been searching around, researching, I wouldn't have found it. But then I think enough pieces of this are coming together. I would depict this differently. And then I put rabbit hole here, which this is part of this is something many people encounter. They started doing, it's like the wiki walk thing. You start researching, reading about something, and then 3 hours later you're on a totally different topic and you don't even remember how you got there. And so I want to move toward like a lot more conscious, deliberative, strategic use of time for research. And so I put here void. But then it comes back to, we're on planet Earth, time marches on, there's no need to get stuck in voids. I mean, there's paths out of them, and I can address that later. So, and then I put here infinite layouts of music. This is like, it's like how I'm dealing with it, and then it's like, or how I'm spending a lot of time, and then infinite layouts of music. Well, it can't be infinite, and what I also keep remembering frequently is I keep remembering, oh, let's go look back at what I was doing at some other context, like in 2011, 2012 especially, when I produced a lot of video and layouts. It's like, oh, I found snippets of this that are actually like way more. It's like the thing, once you know a bunch of stuff, it's harder to say it simply a lot of times, whereas I was piecing together things more for the first time, or to a certain level of depth for the first time then, and so I unpack stuff that I think is useful perspective. But so it's not infinite, and it's got to zero in on like knapsack problem solving. And then this whole thing of the muddy pit, never-ending story, hope and despair. It's like crawling through a muddy pit, and versus having the bird's eye view or all this stuff. And then here he gets into credibility signaling, advocacy letter, reality resume, and have a team. It's like I need to have a team in order to assemble a team. So that's been one of the problems. And then it gets into communication breakdown in teams, which gets into this whole thing of how to have attuned conversations and get the points across. And then I have these organizations and so on. And then here I have Dar Williams, What You Hear in These Sounds, and Lil Wayne featuring Bruno Mars, Mirror. And both of these are really sort of self-reflective, almost therapy mentor-like videos, videos. And then I'd also add Vanessa Carlton, Heroes and Thieves. And there's a whole bunch of others too, but it's like it gets into sort of therapy, philosophy, reflection, or related songs. Okay, so then this gets at, it's like feeling like same as what one's trying to help feels, and here I have the sort of take on the macro Earth, but kind of focused on it's like causal effect webs, and it's like coordinating sort of a class or a audience for content in different contexts. And it's like, what do you need and aspire to, and what do you know and what do you need to know. And one could add who. So then I have this tangle triangle thing up here: epistemic fluency and professional education, concepts and patterns. So I want to do content workshopping and unpacking, including, that could be a whole thing of like unpacking the concept of narcissist or this type of thing. And then this image represents just kind of myself across time, or these different points of arguably decision making and wondering, and then it's sort of task pile up. And then triage, and it's like time triage. Okay, so I think I will pause this now, and more soon.